Hello everybody, welcome back and thank you for watching. I feel like I say this now at the start of every single video, but I know we are well into Feb, but I still have not really talked about what my favorite movies and TV shows of 2020 were. So I figured I was going to do that first, but I also figured there was maybe a different way I could do it. So what I'm going to do in this video, instead of talking about the 15 favorite TV shows and 15 favorite movies of 2020, I will just redirect you to my written blog where I have all of that up, and I have those movies and TV shows up in their ranked lists, so you get to see which one is at number 15, which one is at number 1. But because I figured that those rankings are really just personal to me, and I'm fully aware that some people who might check out those lists will, they're probably going to disagree with me. So what I'm going to do here instead is that I will list every movie and TV show from those lists here alphabetically, but I will recommend them, I'll try to recommend them specifically to the people who I think are going to enjoy them. So yeah, it just makes things less redundant, and it also might make for a shorter video, so I'm always game for that. So starting with the 15 favorite TV shows in alphabetical order, we have The Babysitter's Club, which is something I would recommend to literally everybody, especially if you have kids or if you have like younger relatives in your life. I think that this show provides so many positive role models for them, and I'm just so thrilled that there are characters like this that young people can watch. But I also think that if you're just an adult who is watching this show on your own, it might be even more moving of an experience. Maybe that's just me because I have a real soft spot for good kids who are so much braver than I am, who are so much smarter than I am. So I was really emotionally affected by this series. Next is Better Call Saul, which is a show that I would definitely want to recommend to everybody, but I will admit that the barrier for entry here is pretty high. By that I mean, I do think that you have to watch Breaking Bad first before watching Better Call Saul. Not that you won't understand the plot of Better Call Saul, but I just feel like the experience is incomplete without having seen Breaking Bad first. Not that that's a chore, because Breaking Bad is one of the best TV shows of all time for a reason. So I would highly recommend watching both shows if you haven't yet, and especially if you're just, a fan of good writing, because I feel like the writing that's in Better Call Saul right now is arguably maybe the best on TV. Next we have Better Things, and the joke is that Better Things is for anybody who liked Boyhood, because they are a little similar stylistically speaking, but I do think at this point Better Things is doing Boyhood better than Boyhood. It's the kind of show that I feel like you don't necessarily watch for like easy emotions, or you don't watch it for the plot. It's really for people who are looking for something much more contemplative and much more unique, especially if your regular TV rotation is, more conventional kind of stuff. I think it's really valuable to have something like Better Things on your rotation, just because it's a really unique sort of palate cleanser. Next I have BoJack Horseman, and I feel like most people who are watching this have already probably seen or completed BoJack Horseman. But for those who haven't gotten into it yet, or for those who aren't really sold on the show yet, I would personally vouch for it. I think that the show doesn't necessarily start out great, but it really matures and develops, and it becomes a surprisingly mature story about mental health and celebrity culture and all that. It's definitely not the kind of thing that you can binge, especially if you relate to the mental health aspect of it. So I think that if you want to power through it, watch it with a friend, or just take it slowly. But I really do think it is rewarding by the end. Next is The Good Fight, which I would also recommend to everyone, because while this is a spin-off of The Good Wife, you definitely don't need to have seen The Good Wife to enjoy this, because I haven't seen a single episode of The Good Wife, and I love The Good Fight so much. I do think it might be interesting for people who are really into legal dramas to watch this, because this is sort of like a deconstruction of the legal drama. It's a full-blown satire by season 3. It's just so insane and so angry, and I love it to death. Next is The Good Lord Bird, which is a mini-series that is probably going to be good for history nuts, especially people who are interested in American history. But weirdly enough, I also think it's for people who normally think that historical dramas are too boring or too dull, because The Good Lord Bird is so energetic, and it is so unexpectedly funny that it is almost a comedy, which is really weird to say because it's set during slavery time. But the way that the humor isn't insensitive at all. The humor is there, but the point of view is always from the perspective of the main character, the main black character. and the way that the show deals with his perspective and the plight of the slaves in that time is really sensitive. It just so happens to be funny in between all of that. Next is I Hate Susie, which is a British mini-series that I would recommend to people who liked Fleabag, but specifically people who appreciated like the darker aspects of Fleabag, because I think I Hate Susie is even darker than season 1 of Fleabag. It's definitely not for those who don't like stressful TV, because this thing is so stressful from start to finish, and even the finale, which I will not spoil, provides some sort of closure or resolution, but in a way that is very different and very challenging. So I would still recommend it to you for that. Next, I May Destroy You, which, you know, spoilers for my ranked list in my blog, but this is easily the best show of 2020. It's not even a discussion. I would recommend this to everybody just because it's that good and it's that unique. Although, of course, I have to give trigger warnings for rape and sexual assault, because that is what the show is about. That's the whole sort of premise. But the way that it's done, the way that it talks about these things is so smart and sensitive. And like I said, it's unlike anything you've ever seen. It's just so creative in its storytelling. I really do think that what Michaela Coel has done here is really sort of show us a way into the future of storytelling, so to speak. Insecure is a show that I think anybody who loves rom-coms will also love. I can think of no better example on Western TV of a romantic comedy that gives you all of the subgenres, sort of hallmarks and trademarks, but it also deconstructs them. And this show is just so much smarter than what you'd expect from a typical romantic comedy, and just so happens to be very predominantly black, and it becomes like a celebration of contemporary black culture, and I really love it for that. Little America is a show that I would recommend to anybody looking for a quick pick-me-up, because this is only 8 episodes long, the first season at least, and it's an anthology, so you don't need to really bring any information from one episode into the next. You know, as far as anthology shows go, of course Little America isn't the most consistent show in the world, but it does offer inspiration in these small doses, and it's always very well made from episode to episode. My Brilliant Friend, just like I May Destroy You, is a show that I would recommend to everybody just because it's so good, but also trigger warnings for rape and sexual assault. However, unlike I May Destroy You, that's not really like the main point necessarily of My Brilliant Friend. The show always goes back to its female characters, and they are so well defined that the stuff that happens to them, while it is difficult to watch and it is a part of their story, they are more than, you know, it's not just about that. So compared to other HBO shows like, let's say, Game of Thrones, that would sort of deal out sexual violence very casually, this one doesn't, I think. Speaking of Game of Thrones, if you're looking for like an HBO style prestige drama with like the production values of an HBO drama, this is literally an HBO drama with all of that stuff. Watching it feels like reading a work of literature, which, to be fair, the show is based on novels, but it's just so well done that it feels like reading a good book. Pen 15 is the ultimate cringe show for anybody who was an outsider in grade school. And by cringe, I mean in a very, very good way. This is a really funny and really emotional, not really a sitcom, but a comedy. And you know, I'm speaking as a guy. I went to an all-boys school, and I can only imagine that this will strike an even deeper chord for people who went to girls' schools. In fact, if you're still close with people from that time in your life, I think it would be a great experience to watch this show with them, just because it is incredibly relatable. Primal is an animated show that I would recommend to anybody who's into animation at all. Genndy Tartakovsky is a pioneer. He gave us Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack and now Primal, and he really does just keep pushing the genre, the form rather, of animation in the West. It might not be the most unique animated show you've ever seen, especially if you watch a lot of anime, but I still do think it is a real achievement in terms of like silent storytelling. Next is Rick and Morty, and I am fully aware of the fact that, you know, the fans have sort of like a bad reputation now for being like crazy, and I understand that, but speaking as someone who really couldn't stand Rick in season 1, I really do believe the show has gotten better as it's gone on. I think it's gotten more self-aware. It understands who its audience is as well. So I would still really recommend it just because I think it is genuinely really funny and very well animated. And finally for TV, Small Axe, which is the mini-series directed by Steve McQueen. This is a little tough to recommend to everybody just because the subject matter of it is pretty heavy, but I'd say it's essential for anyone who's looking for a really good example of media that really talks about protest and racism without mincing any words, without going for like the easy liberal answer to racism. And you know, if you just want to see Steve McQueen at the height of his powers, just check out Small Axe. It's great. Moving on to film, again in alphabetical order. First we have Aswang. If you have not yet seen Aswang, I think you owe it to yourself to see it the first chance that you get. Whether or not you're Filipino, if you're watching this, please do somehow find a way to check it out. I do think it's the most important movie of 2020. It is hard to watch by design because it is about the continuing war on drugs here in the Philippines. But we really do need the reminder of just how horrific it actually is, especially for those of us who are sitting comfortably at home and aren't really like out on the streets every day and who are sort of disconnected from the reality of the situation. I think this is incredibly important to see. Next up is Bloody Nose Empty Pockets, which is probably the one film or anything on this list that has probably like the narrowest target audience because it is so weird and it just doesn't operate like a normal movie because it's sort of a mock documentary but it's also not, and it's just so hard to place. But it's exactly for those reasons that I would recommend everybody watch it, just because it's so different, and I feel like even if you don't end up liking it by the end, I think it's valuable to see a film like this that is so interesting and strange. Next up, Boys State. This is a documentary for anybody who's interested in US electoral politics for any reason, which to be fair, that's all of us, unfortunately. Like, we all end up becoming invested in US elections just because they affect all of us. But I would also recommend Boys State to sports fans, to reality TV show fans, just because this documentary does end up becoming both of those things. And also for anyone who wants a really good cry. Like, this is a very emotional documentary, surprisingly. And I won't spoil it, but it's got a great ending as well. Disclosure is a documentary that I think is essential for everyone, both in the trans community and allies who still have a lot to learn, aka all allies. I also absolutely recommend this to anybody who's into film in general, just because it is such a nerdy film about the history of the medium and its power. So yeah, and I do think that you will learn something new from it, no matter like what background you're coming from. End of the Century is a movie that of course has been compared a lot to Before Sunrise, so if you're into that sort of thing, you will definitely like this, I think. However, if you're also specifically looking for an LGBT narrative that isn't explicit and that isn't violent, this is definitely what you're looking for. But it is still very emotional and it will tear your heart out, I think. Fangirl, of course. I feel like majority of people who might be watching this from the Philippines have already seen Fangirl, but I would still show this to everyone, especially the annoying people who like saying that Philippine cinema is boring or it's repetitive and whatever, because this is definitely a breath of fresh air. Like, whether or not you agree with the filmmakers' politics and whatnot, I still think, like, as a text, as a film, it's incredibly interesting. Minari is like the perfect film to show to your Asian families because it is very quintessentially, both quintessentially American and very quintessentially Asian. It's one of the more accessible and consummately enjoyable movies on this list. I think anybody of any age can appreciate it. It might not be as melodramatic as you might expect from an Asian drama, but it still definitely has a lot of emotion in it. Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always is a movie that I love so much that I would recommend it to everybody, even if I don't think you'd really enjoy it by the end. Especially to those who are into like slow art house films, I think you will definitely get a kick out of this. And also specifically people who are into American independent cinema, like that very specific sort of vibe that those movies tend to give off. Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always has that. But again, I just think it's so well crafted. Sydney Flanagan is so good in it that I think everybody needs to see it. Nomad in the Footsteps of Bruce Chatwin is a documentary for anybody who likes documentaries about unexplained phenomena or, you know, cinema in general. So long as you know that the documentary really isn't about those things, it's more about the friendship between Werner Herzog and Bruce Chatwin, and it just makes for a really interesting watch. Nomadland is a movie that I think you should definitely believe the hype for, although I can imagine a lot of people not being as taken with the movie as me and a lot of other people. But again, I would still recommend it to everybody because I think it is incredibly well made. Just like Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, it's very specifically American indie. But it's also for anybody who hates work, which is like everybody, because work sucks. On the Record is a fantastic documentary that obviously needs a trigger warning as well, because it is about these women who came forward with accusations against Russell Simmons, who is a sexual predator. But the documentary is definitely for hip-hop heads as well. It's for people who are interested in intersectional feminist theory. It's for anybody who wants to hear what a good argument sounds like, because this whole movie is one really great sort of nuanced argument. Palm Springs, of all the films on this list, I feel like this is the one that most people I know personally would enjoy if you're an adult, because it is just so much fun. It's so rewatchable. It's the perfect quarantine movie. Definitely watch this with people who you're stuck with at home. I'm not gonna spoil anything about it, but if you don't know anything about Palm Springs, don't look up anything, don't watch a trailer, just watch it blind. Rewind, thematically speaking, vaguely is similar to On the Record in that it is about sexual assault. But this time it's domestic sexual assault against children specifically, so trigger warning again for rape and sexual assault. It's harrowing, but it's a documentary that I think is really special and might be really valuable specifically for people who are into child psychology or people who are community workers, because this film eventually does build up to, caring for children. The Vast of Night is easily the best science fiction / speculative fiction film that I saw in 2020, though it isn't what you normally expect. It's very, very old school, so if you're into like radio dramas and old like pulp science fiction, I think you'll really get a kick out of this. I would recommend seeing this in one sitting at night with really good sound, because if you watch it in those conditions, I think it'll really transport you to another time and place. And finally, the last thing I'm going to recommend in this video is Wolfwalkers. Just like Primal, I think if you're a fan of animation at all, you owe it to yourself to see this, just to remind yourself how good traditional animation can be. I do think it's family friendly. I don't think it's the best for like really small kids, just because some of the sequences here can get a little scary. And the story itself is a little more mature than you would expect, but I do think it's family friendly. It's really fun for everyone, and if you're watching this just as an adult by yourself, I still think you're gonna enjoy it a lot. Alright, that's it. We are done with 2020 officially, semi-officially, because there's still like late releases coming out from last year that I've been watching over the last couple of months, so I'll try to talk about those soonish. Again, thank you guys for watching and thank you for being here. I really appreciate still having some people to talk to well into 2021. Again, I hope you guys are staying safe and staying healthy. Keep holding on until vaccines come. Please keep doing what you can to help each other out. Please keep each other safe and healthy, like I said. And yeah, I will see you guys as we watch more TV and movies together from the safety of our homes, hopefully. So yeah, if there's anything you guys wanted to say about my lists, please, again, don't forget to check out the ranked lists in my written blog, which is linked down below. Just do leave me a comment and let's have a conversation.